Have you ever felt like you're your own worst critic? That a negative, judgmental voice is constantly running in your head, telling you you're not good enough? If you've experienced narcissistic abuse, this isn't just in your imagination. It's a deeply ingrained pattern, a lasting echo of the abuse you endured. Let's talk about how this happens and, more importantly, how to break free. Narcissistic abuse is a form of psychological manipulation designed to make you doubt yourself and feel dependent on the abuser. Over time, their constant criticism, gaslighting, and devaluation don't just stay external words. You start to internalize them. Their voice becomes your inner critic. This process is insidious. It chips away at your self-esteem, rewires your brain's default settings, and traps you in a cycle of negative self-talk. Let's look at 5 common negative thinking patterns that develop from this kind of abuse. First, there's catastrophizing. This is when your mind automatically jumps to the worst-case scenario. Did your boss send you a one-word email? You immediately think you're getting fired. Did a friend not text back right away? You assume they're angry with you and the friendship is over. This happens because in an abusive environment, you were trained to always be on high alert, anticipating the next disaster to protect yourself. A small mistake could lead to a huge outburst from the narcissist, so your brain learned to expect the absolute worst as a survival mechanism. The second pattern is personalization. This is the belief that everything is your fault. If someone is in a bad mood, you automatically assume you did something to cause it. If a group project fails, you take all the blame, even if others were involved. Narcissists constantly shift blame onto their victims. They make you feel responsible for their emotions, their failures, and their abusive behavior. After hearing, "This is all your fault" hundreds of times, you start to believe it, carrying a heavy burden of guilt and shame that isn't yours to carry. Third, we have black and white thinking, also known as all-or-nothing thinking. With this pattern, you see things in extremes. You're either a complete success or a total failure. If you make one small mistake on your diet, you think, "Well, I've ruined everything," and give up completely. There's no room for nuance or imperfection. This mindset is a direct result of the impossible standards set by a narcissist. To them, you were either perfect and serving their needs, or you were worthless. This extreme judgment becomes the ruler you use to measure yourself. The fourth pattern is mind reading. You assume you know what other people are thinking, and it's usually negative. You might be in a conversation and think, "They probably think I'm so boring," or "I bet they're judging my outfit." This comes from constantly trying to predict the narcissist's moods and thoughts to avoid their wrath. You became hyper-vigilant, analyzing every micro-expression and tone of voice for hidden meanings. Now you apply that same stressful analysis to everyone, assuming their inner thoughts are as critical as your abusers were. And fifth, there's overgeneralization. This is when you take one negative event and turn it into a never-ending pattern of defeat. You go on one bad date and think, "I'll be alone forever." You get rejected for a job and conclude, "I'm unemployable." During narcissistic abuse, you were likely told sweeping negative statements like, "You always mess things up," or "You never do anything right." These generalizations become your own beliefs, and a single setback feels like proof that these horrible statements are true. Recognizing these patterns is the first massive step toward healing. Now let's move into the empowering part: how to actively dismantle them and build a more positive, realistic inner world. It's not an overnight fix, but with consistent practice, you can reclaim your mind. The first and most powerful tool is mindfulness and self-awareness. You can't change a thought you don't know you're having. Start by simply noticing your thoughts without judgment. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, just say to yourself, "Ah, that's catastrophizing." Don't beat yourself up for it. Just observe it like a cloud passing in the sky. This simple act of noticing creates a space between you and the thought, showing you that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Meditation apps, or even just setting a timer for 5 minutes a day to sit and observe your mind, can be incredibly helpful in building this skill. The second strategy is to challenge and reframe your thoughts. This is a core technique of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. When you notice a negative thought, treat it like a hypothesis, not a fact. Ask yourself questions. What's the evidence for this thought? What's the evidence against it? Is there a more balanced or compassionate way to look at this situation? For example, If you catch yourself thinking, my friend didn't text back, she must hate me, challenge it. The evidence? She hasn't replied. The evidence against? She's a busy person, her phone might be off, she could be driving. A reframe might be, my friend is probably busy. I'll trust she'll get back to me when she can. Her response time is not a reflection of my worth. You're essentially becoming your own supportive friend, countering the inner critic. Third, practice self-compassion. This is crucial. Narcissistic abuse teaches you that you're only worthy if you're perfect. Self-compassion teaches you that you are worthy, period. It means treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend who is struggling. When you make a mistake, instead of saying, I'm such an idiot, try saying, that was a difficult moment, and it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does. I did my best. Talk to yourself the way a loving, nurturing parent would. This can feel unnatural at first, but it is a radical act of reparenting yourself and healing those old wounds. The fourth practical step is to create a positive evidence log. Get a journal, and at the end of each day, write down 3 things that went well, or 3 things you like about yourself. They don't have to be monumental. Maybe you made a great cup of coffee. Maybe you held the door for someone. Maybe you handled a stressful moment with grace. Your brain is currently wired to look for the negative. This exercise actively retrains it to scan for the positive. It builds a library of evidence to counter the lies of the inner critic. When that voice says you're a failure, you'll have a written record of your successes, your kindness, and your strengths to prove it wrong. Finally, engage in affirmations, but do it wisely. Simply saying, I am confident when you feel the opposite might not work. Your brain will just reject it. Instead, use bridge affirmations. These are more believable and help bridge the gap between your negative belief and your desired positive one. For example, instead of, I am loved, you could try, I am open to the possibility of being loved, or I am learning to love and accept myself. Or instead of, I am a success, try, I am capable of success, or I am taking steps toward my goals every day. These feel more honest and achievable, making them more effective at slowly shifting your core beliefs. Healing from the psychological impact of narcissistic abuse is a journey. It's about unlearning the toxic lessons you were taught and learning to trust yourself again. These negative thinking patterns are survival skills that have outlived their usefulness. Now, it's time to replace them with skills that will help you thrive. Be patient and kind to yourself through this process. You are essentially rewiring your brain, and that takes time, effort, and a whole lot of grace. Remember, you survived the abuse. You have the strength to heal from it. Thank you so much for watching and for allowing me to be a part of your healing process. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments below. Sharing our stories helps us all feel less alone. See you on the healing journey in the next video.